Hey everyone, this is Maria Taylor with M. Taylor Creations. Welcome back to my channel for another video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below to see more content. Today I want to share some cards I made with the Carta Bella Oh Happy Day Spring 6x6 paper pad. And I didn't turn on the camera while I was making the cards, but I still wanted to share just for inspiration. Okay, so let's get started with the first card. I used the Spellbinders Card Kit of the Month, April 2020 stamp set to stamp out the little bee on the blue cardstock as well as the sentiment that says Happy Bee Day. I thought that was a cute little sentiment. And then for the little bee, I used Versamark ink and clear embossing powder just to give a tone-on-tone look on that side of the card, and then use some Wink of Stella to give some glitter on the wings. Next, I took a white gel pen and just gave some little dots just to add a little detail in between the bees. And then I've got some of the Nouveau glitter drops in the color of Sherbet Shimmer, just to give some accent outside of the sentiment strip there. And then I used distress markers to color the sentiment strip and just put down some color on a block, and then added some water, and then just did a little bit of an ink smooshing technique to give a fun little watercolor look to that. And then I used that same distress marker to stamp out the hexagon shapes on the top left and bottom right hand corner of the card. That's it for the first card. Okay, and on to the next card. This one's going to look a little similar. I did that same technique of using the stamp set to create a tone-on-tone look, and then accent it with a little bit of white gel pen. And then I also created the sentiment that says Happy Bee Day, but without the large B sentiment word. Then I used some of the same Nouveau glitter drops to add a couple of drops up at the top left hand corner on some of the pattern paper, and then use some different colored foil paper behind some of the paper just to give a little bit of a glimmer to this card. And I think that's about it. I did add some glitter to the different flowers with some of the Wink of Stella as well. Okay, and on to card number 3. This is probably my favorite one that I made out of the 10 cards. I used the same stamp set from Spellbinders to stamp out the beehive that has some flowers around it, and then I fussy cut that out after I was finished coloring it. But I used the distress markers again, just different colors, to just highlight the way I thought that should look, and then added some white gel pen for highlights, and then used a black gel pen to color the inside of the hive as well as accent a couple of the flowers, and use the white gel pen as well in the center of a couple of the flowers. And then next I fussy cut that out and I stamped on the actual card base the 2 larger bees, and then that same Happy Bee Day sentiment, and then added some Wink of Stella to the wings and colored with the distress markers again. And then I popped up the image in the center on top of a couple pieces of the pattern paper. Okay, and on to card number 4. This was the paper in the background with all the flowers and the vases was my favorite paper out of this paper pad. I just didn't want to cut down too much of it, and so I found a way to use up a lot of it in the background so you can see all those pretty flowers, and then just covered up a little bit of it with some of the pink papers on the bottom, I'd say third or so of the card. And I added just a sentiment from my stash and for a birthday sentiment, and then added a couple of green sparkle gems from Scrapping for Less to the top right and bottom left hand corners. And then lastly, I just on the pink cardstock behind the birthday sentiment, I just used an embossing folder from my stash to just give a little bit of definition to that little piece so it wasn't so plain. And that's it. Okay, and moving on to card number 5. This was another fun one. I liked just another happy birthday card. Never have enough of those. So I just used that really pretty floral paper in the background and left most of that showing and just covered up with a couple pieces here. I used a piece of the pattern paper that had a bunch of pictures all over the paper, and then I used some glossy accents to cover what would be the glass maybe in the picture, just to give a little bit of dimension to that piece of paper, and then added some of the pink plaid across the bottom portion of the card with happy birthday. And then to finish off the card, I just used a few enamel dots from Scrapping for Less. I don't know the exact color. It was kind of a coral red color, but it just matched the flowers that I had in this paper. And that's it for card number 5. Okay, and moving along to card number 6, I used some more of the paper pad. In the background, I used a stitched rectangle die just to sort of start off the card, and then I added a couple of layers of the different paper from the pad in different sizes, and then they had these pretty pictures, and this one I picked says beautiful in it, and I just cut that out using another stitched rectangle die, and then added some Wink of Stella to the letters and the flower underneath the word, and then also fussy cut the word hello from another piece of paper from the paper pad. And then lastly, I just used a few of the just some clear gems to stick on around the sentiment as well as underneath the beautiful picture frame. Alright, and moving on to card number 7. Use again some more of the paper pad to start out the bottom, just with a couple of different sheets of the paper pad, and then I used a circle die to get just a part of the circle on the left hand side of the focal image there, just to add a little bit of interest to the card. And then on the very top, my focal image, I actually used a Stampin' Up! Stamp to have a little bird there, colored that in with distress markers again, and then the sentiment as well is from that stamp set, and it says, "The world needs more of you." And then lastly, I just finished off with some more Wink of Stella throughout the card, and then also some more of the glimmer, the Nouveau glimmer drops around the sentiment, and then also up on the yellow piece of paper above the bird. And that finishes off this card. Okay, I'm moving along to card number 8. Again, I used several different pattern papers from the pad. The background is a lemon and floral looking pattern paper. I thought that was a really fun pattern, and then I've got a couple of other pieces on top of that, and then along the center below the yellow and white polka dot piece of paper, I included a piece of sort of like glitter tape, I guess, from Scotch. I thought that was a fun accent. It matched the colors from the pattern paper. And then lastly, I just used the Stampin' Up! Stamp set that I used on the last card for one of the sentiments that says thank you, and then just backed that with some pink cardstock I had in my stash, and then finished off the card with just some blue enamel dots I had in my stash. And then on the center flower, I included some glossy accents just to highlight that as well. Okay, and on to card number 9. I used a piece of blue cardstock on the very back and used a stencil I had in my stash to just give a little bit of a pattern in the very back with some diamonds, and I used some distress inks for that, and just use like a brush to sort of brush that on and have it lighter in the center and then just darker along the edges. And then just added a little piece of pattern paper in the center, and then there are some tags that are on one of the pieces of pattern paper, and so I just cut those out and attached one to the other. The smaller one says enjoy the small things, and then the larger tag says hello. And then I added some twine for the tags, and then added some silver Wink of Stella to go around the tags, and then also use some glossy accents to give a couple of accents around the center there, and then also took the silver Wink of Stella and just highlighted a few of the diamonds in the top left hand corner and the bottom right hand corner. And I thought this was just a fun hello card to share with someone. Okay, and on to the last card I made today, and I chose to again back the card base with a large piece of the paper that had a lot of the flowers. I thought that was a pretty scene on the background, and then just added a couple of other pieces, just some pink paper cut as a banner behind the yellow and white, and then some yellow and white polka dot paper, and then right behind my image I did add just a little piece of yellow and white twine just to have something in the background, just kind of twirled that around. And then for my focal image, I went back to that Stampin' Up! Stamp set, and there's a image with the birds on a branch, and then as well as a hello sentiment, and so I just added that here, and then did some more coloring with the distress markers, just different colors for the birds that sort of match the flowers in the background. And then to the little pink flowers I added some glossy accents, and that's it. Okay, and that's it for today's video from Carta Bella Oh Happy Day Spring paper pad. Again, I got 10 cards and have lots of paper still left over, so you may see some future cards with the same paper, and I hope you come back and check out my channel again. Thank you.